Hi everyone.
Good morning and welcome to Gardening Coast to Coast. We're going to be doing a podcast where we will link that podcast channel or that series in the video description, but at times we're going to be doing videos together. And today's video is all about composting. And the thing about composting is you always hear, just use compost, just use compost. However, we all can't make it. We all don't have the space. So we're going to just walk down one compost area here, go to a smaller area after where I make smaller batches of compost, and just talk about what you might want to do. If you can't compost, that's fine, but this is how I kind of do it on my homestead, and this is ways you can do it in your place.
Definitely. So a lot of people are afraid to compost because they think it's too complicated, but really you can break it down, keep it simple, and just make it for whatever space you have to build it in.
Right, and this is a large setup for a large garden. You don't need this, but you can kind of find the facts in here. So these are pallets that I just put together, and this is just for kind of hot composting when I mix greens and browns together. And greens are usually like cut grass, browns are leaves, and you want a combination of greens and browns to heat up. Now, if you go and look in there, I know you've seen it too, it's kind of confusing. It's how many greens do you use, or how many browns do you use?
I think people kind of tend to overcomplicate it a little bit. So you just basically want to get a good ratio of each, like a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts of the greens, 1 part of the browns.
The greens will heat it up. It might smell a little bit, but the greens kind of heat up the pile and help everything break down quickly if you need something a little more.
That's right. And you can use like your kitchen scraps when you take your vegetables inside, you chop them up, you have the ends of your cucumbers or your squash. Keep a little compost bucket under your sink, and then you can bring that out and throw that in your outdoor compost pile.
Right.
So it's a great way to really, utilize everything that you're bringing in as far as the produce. Utilize every little single piece of it.
Right. And let's just start here. So this is a pen for a dog that I got off of Amazon. I don't have a link, but just get something that has about a 4-foot wide space, 4 feet high. And this is 3 years of compost where you just throw it down and pile it in. This comes from the garden, around the yard. This is good a cold compost, which means nature will just slowly break it down, worms get in there, and it turns into compost. No matter what you do, if you have piles, it will turn into compost.
Eventually it will rot down.
Yeah, so this year I'll probably get down to the bottom, dig it out, use that in my garden. When you get over to where we were talking about the 2-to-1 ratio, this is more for like hot composting. And that means you would keep that ratio you were talking about, 2 greens to 1 brown. And basically, if you have a 5-gallon bucket, it would be 2 5-gallon buckets of grass thrown in there, 1 bucket of leaves thrown in there. You mix it through, that will heat up, and this can break down as little as 30 days, but it's not a contest, but in about 60 days. And it will continue to break down and you're gonna have compost. And that's what I sort of do here. Sometimes I don't stay up on it because it is a bit of work.
I think the important thing too is, Gary, you get tons of rain here, so you probably don't have to add water to your compost pile. But for me in Southern California, if you live in an area where you don't get rain, and if you want it to break down quickly, you do need to make sure that you're moistening up your pile, so it's about the moistness of a wrung out sponge. Right.
So once you get it going, keep the moisture in there, and you do want to come and turn it a couple times a week just to keep the air in there, and that helps keep the hot composting process going.
That's right.
And then right in here, actually, let me just grab some. This is 2nd-year compost from the process.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And it's looking pretty good, and this is pretty much ready. It's not 100% broken down, but that's fine. So I will put this on top of my garden beds in the fall. It'll be ready for the spring. And
smells then good too.
Yeah, it smells good. It smells clean too. And then this is 2-year compost that's even broken down more, and it's almost gone. So that's my goal, is just to have enough to keep my beds kind of fed.
I think it's important too to note that one reason why you can have different types of compost going. One of the advantages to hot compost is it breaks down quicker, and then it kills like any of the weed seeds or anything like that you don't necessarily want popping up in your garden later.
Well, take a picture of this. This is a compost thermometer. And if you can get this up into the red area, I think that's about 120 degrees, that's when it does what you're talking about.
Right.
So it gets hot enough to kill off any kind of pathogens.
Right. But for hot composting, you really need a larger pile for it to generate the heat.
Right. So this may be too big for everybody, which is perfectly fine. And don't feel like you can only have a garden if you have compost. This actually, for years I didn't have compost because I didn't have space, but now that I have the space, we have this. But you can get to smaller scale composting with a tumbler or even a 5-gallon bucket. I know that you compost in that.
I mean, so many people just have a deck, a patio, it's a very small space, but don't worry about it. You can still compost even in a small space as a 5-gallon container. And this tunnel is so pretty. Come on over here.
That's actually cattle panel and green beans and muscadines growing up the side of that.
That's Gary.
Perfect for a patio side of your house. These are just basic tumblers, no specific brand. And you would just put in your kitchen scraps, your garden scraps, put in the moisture like you were talking about. Fill it up, put the lid on it. Let me grab the lid. Spin it on. And then once a day or every couple of days, you give it a tumble and that will create compost. And if we open up this one, this is a combination of actually wood pellets, it's a little dry, and alfalfa pellets. And this is ready to go into the garden. And you can do this in 60 days too. This is older, but you can compost right in there.
Now for the 5-gallon bucket, something I've done really well that's worked is you take all your scraps that you collect from your vegetables and your produce, your eggshells, your coffee grounds that you collect under your sink, and then you throw it into a blender. Because the smaller that things are broken down ahead of time, the quicker they're going to break down in your compost. So I like to layer, you know, my kitchen scraps, I'll blend it up, then I layer some shredded leaves, and I keep that process going until I reach the top, throw in a bunch of coffee grounds, and then I mix it all together and then cover it, make sure it's nice and moist, cover it. It'll break down probably within about 60 days or so. You may need to come out, moisten it down again, and keep stirring it around. But this is something you can do right on your patio, no matter how small of a space you have, and it breaks down into free fertilizer. So it works really good.
And I think the goal is don't worry so much about the process, the exact recipe or method. Just get the composting started in a space that works for you. And before you know it, you'll have plenty of compost for your garden. Thanks so much for watching, and please check the video description for our podcast. They will be coming out soon.
Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Bye-bye.
Good morning.
Hi, everyone.
Yeah, no, do it again. I was
You said good morning, I'll say hi, everyone. 3, 2, 1, action.
I'm going to let you, you're going to say good morning, and I'm going to say something, and then just start talking. So you just say 3, 2, 1, hi, everyone. I'll say my piece, and then I'll introduce it.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, action. Hi, everyone.